Inside the Birds is back. What's up, everybody? Geoff, Mosher, Adam, Caplan, what's going on? Big week behind for the Philadelphia Eagles. They had their joint practices with the Cleveland Browns. Adam Caplan was there. And of course, there was a preseason game. And big week ahead as the Eagles will head south to Miami for joint practices with the Dolphins. And it's a big week because Adam and I will both be there. So 4 eyes on the prize there for joint practices, and of course there'll be the preseason finale. When's that game? That's a Sunday game again, right?
Oh, this game, the Miami game.
This one's a Saturday game, isn't it?
Yeah, it is Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So this Saturday in Miami. Correct.
All right. So we got a lot to discuss. Now, you were in Cleveland, so you were there to give us a kind of an eyewitness news account of the joint practices, and then we'll go through the preseason game a little bit. There were some things that stood out, I thought, Adam, both positively and negatively. We of course don't try to put too much into that, but there were some things to deduce. I want to remind everybody on September 11th, which is a Monday after the Lions game, Adam and I will be back on 97.5 The Fanatic from 6 to 8 o'clock. ITB Radio. Once again, third straight year partnering with 97.5 The Fanatic. So we come to the Philadelphia airwaves each Monday night. There'll be some games or some times and days where the Sixers and the Flyers a little bit interfere, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. And just look forward, we both do, to getting back out there on the Philly airwaves and talking to our listeners. And of course, you can check out all of our content on InsideTheBirds.com. Everything we've been doing is on Football at 4 with 97.3 is on our YouTube channel. We are going to start up doing some ITB TVs. We took a little break from that, but pretty soon, Adam, we're going to do your I think the first one we'll do is your NFL training camp wrap. Now, are you still going to Detroit? I know you were scheduled to do that.
No, I bagged it. Yeah,
okay.
I bagged it on Sunday because the weather, I canceled my trip on Sunday because the weather was shaky and the flight I was going to be on was going to be delayed. I'm like, I'm not to be, the line told me that practice was 90 minutes today on Monday. I'm like, you know what? It's just not worth it. So next year I'll go for 2 days. I kind of like to see teams are sort of on the rise, as they say.
Sure.
But the good I was able to be in Cleveland, in Berea, Ohio, to be exact. And our sourcing on this is from both sides. So this is not one-sided view here. It's what everyone we know. So you and I spoke to a lot of people. So yeah, and obviously my own eyes. And I'm going to throw some fantasy nuggets in here today because and I know you one in particular. You I guess the way you and I have been talking about one particular player, I think you might be not changing your mind, but you're like, you like the player, but you're like, wow, now I need to go here.
Well, let's just say I think his ADP, which I don't have in front of me, I haven't checked it. I think it needs to be a little higher.
Okay.
I think especially in his ranking within his position. We'll talk about that in a little bit. All right. So this is important. I want you to reiterate. Well, you don't have to reiterate. I'll reiterate for you that you in particular, by being out in Berea, Ohio for joint practices, not only worked your sources from the Eagles, but also from the Browns, outsiders, inside everybody around the NFL that you've been talking to. So you've got probably the most balanced sourcing on the Eagles offense and defense and special teams that anybody can offer. So we really look forward to getting into, and I think the joint practices, I think we talked about this, Adam, to me, there's so much more there than a preseason game because first of all, the starters practice a lot, and then you do a lot of situational work that you might not see in a game. Although I will say the game had plenty of third downs and plenty of goal line situations. But again, there's only one group on the field at that time. In practice, you can repeat it and a lot of good one-on-ones. What was your overall viewpoint of those 2 days of joint practices with the Browns?
Yeah. Oh, well, okay. So let me set this up. This definitely is interesting. So almost, as you know, almost at every training camp practice, there are fans. Well, the cool thing was, not that I don't like fans there, but the cool thing is when there are no fans, you can hear just about everything.
Oh yeah, the loud thuds.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that because I was thinking that you're not supposed to tackle,
right?
And you can hear the grunts and the groans when someone gets hit. The thud is you don't take anyone to the ground, but you get elbowed, you get a shoulder, you get a shove, particularly Goddard on a one-on-one. He beat the guy so badly. The guy's like, he got pissed. Like Goddard beat him and he was running. He just went like this because he was so mad. But yeah, it was really cool because you could hear everything. And then I was standing behind at one point the Eagles bench, and it was so cool to watch Kelsey coach up Juergens. Really cool. Like he was the assistant coach.
Oh, that's great.
Super cool. Just to see him do that. It was, going to this thing, I had no idea how this would look. But I've been to their complex for 12 years. But the funny thing is, when there's fans there, they're restricted media where they're allowed to be. This time, you could pretty much go anywhere, other than, as you know, at practice, you cannot go in the middle of the fields. You can't go between the fields. Like there's a middle part to each field. You can't go in, but got a great view. Really appreciate the Browns PR people. We got a great view, and the weather was great. In fact, Thursday, because there was a lot of cloud cover, yeah, it might have been near 80, but it was actually cool. And then Friday was really warm. In fact, we were all talking like, man, we the thing is, you have to go find water. At Eagles practices, there's always water for the fans, which is great, and the media. So we had to go get it. But the great thing is, as you said, long field. Might start. That's called long field. You might start your 20, your 10. You might go the whole way. Maybe you won't. Short yardage, red zone, special teams, 1-on-1, 7-on-7s, 11-on-11, goal line. You name it, they did it. Both practices were about 2 hours each. Again, the weather was good. Oh, someone asked me on Twitter if there was any fighting. A little pushing and shoving. No, not like the Patriots, Panthers, where I was there the days before that. And there were 4 fights, and one was 2 minutes. And Belichick threw a couple players out on Tuesday. And unfortunately, a player got knocked out in a special teams play. And those were pretty physical as well. But great work, just talking to people there. And I know you talked to your sources. The work was really good.
Yeah.
And as you said this very well. This is what's happening now around the National Football League. Not every team does this, but if your starters get a ton of reps, and they did, you're probably not going to practice, and you're probably not going to play them. But from talking to both teams on Thursday, it sounded like they weren't going to play any starters, and they didn't. And that to me now, Miami, we fly there tomorrow, and we go to the practice on Wednesday and Thursday. And that the weather there is going to be high 80s, low 90s, and it's obviously going to be very humid.
Right.
I don't see any reason why the Eagles would play their starters. I know Nick Sirianni doesn't want to be paid into a box. I get that.
Nah, they ain't playing. If they didn't play in the second, they ain't playing in the third.
They shouldn't. Right, they shouldn't, because quite frankly, this is great work, and we'll get into that. There's certainly some interesting things. The Browns got that. The Browns got their better part of the Eagles at some points. Eagles overall probably did better.
Right.
But you have to understand, before we get into this, that the Browns starting corners did not practice in team at all. In fact, Ward just got back off PUP. He was very limited, didn't do very much. And then Greg Newsome didn't practice at all. He's got a soft tissue injury. So that's part of why the Eagles got the better of him. And my goodness gracious. Wow, if they could carry this over to the regular season, it's going to be something else, this offense.
Oh, I bet it will be. And I think, again, we said this last pod, but you sort of look forward to this coming week where you have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, and Tyreek Hill all on sharing a practice field. There should be some plays galore being made. And I think that the Miami's corner situation is a little healthier than Cleveland's was. So it should be pretty interesting. All right, I want to get into some of your notes, your practice notes first. We've been telling you about our new partner. We've wanted to partner with them for so long. Freestone Farms CBD. It's our favorite CBD brand because they farm it themselves with all organic inputs, and you get some education on what they grow and how they grow it to make what we know is the best quality product on the market. And look, we've tried different brands, but honestly, Freestone Farms CBD, it's been amazing for us. We like it after workouts for that, post-workout soreness, and then also right before bed. That's the key. Adam will tell you he loves it before sleeping because it helps us sleep better at night. And what's really exciting is our friends at Freestone Farms just unveiled an all-new strain. You've heard us talk about it. It's the insane tropical tasting Bayox, clocking in at a chart-topping 24.1%. Or there's the Super CBD. It's a half Hindu Kush at 21%. There's a great menu and with all new strains. So check it out. It's supremely good CBD at prices you're really going to like. Freestone Farms cbd.com. You will find it all there. We've told you that they grow all their premium hemp flower in the Garden State with all organic inputs and IPM, nothing synthetic from farm to jar. Even after harvest, they carefully preserve all the plant compounds with a 3-month cure. You just take a look, take a smell. It's all enough to know that it's CBD done right. It's a product that's really good for anyone who wants to put natural stuff in their body. That's the key. It's taking a natural approach. So if you use the promo code ITB, you get 20% off checkout. That's promo code ITB to get 20% off at checkout on freestowfarmscbd.com.
Let me just add this. The reason why I take CBD before bed is because I have too much going on in my mind. A lot of us do.
Definitely.
4 or 5 things I just sometimes cannot relax. And it really does a good job of just calming me down. Certainly, if you're stressed out, you could always take it during the day.
Right.
But I like to at night because it really relaxes me and then I'm able to fall asleep. You know, some of us,
you know, you're doing all this traveling, Adam, and you really need to get your sleep because you're up, you're on airplanes. I mean,
good point.
Yeah.
I should have. Well, the other thing is, and the pillows in the hotels are so bad.
Oh,
yeah, it's hard. I like a good pillow. I don't like it soft. You know, some people like to beat up their pillow.
Yeah, I kind of like the soft. The firm pillow hurts my neck. I don't know.
Really?
So I usually like the hotel pillows. Yeah, if it's a decent hotel. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the Eagles' offense. So Jalen Hurts did not play. A lot of the first teamers did not play in the game. But give me what you gleaned, and then also some of your sourcing on Jalen.
Yeah, so look, he was really good. He looked good. In fact, we're going to go into a play that you have to have seen it to understand it. It shows his growth. It's actually a very telling play, which I usually don't say stuff like I'm going to say in a minute here, but you see the growth of this player because of the willingness to make certain type of throws, which he would never made 2 years ago because he didn't understand it. But my understanding, and not just my 2 eyes, but from talking to several people, he looked really good. And now, again, both starting corners were out for the Browns, so that helped them. Greedy Williams is back, and he was a former starter who's now playing, practicing a lot. Good player, former second-round pick. But, yeah, the Eagles got the better of him. Martin Emerson is a good player who's a draftee who I know talking to the Browns they really like, who's had a very good camp. He had his moments. He's a third-rounder out of Mississippi State. He's tall. Eagles went after him. They had their way against him. He made some plays, but overall, I thought, based on what I was told, particularly, he was really good. Hurts. Now here's the play. It was on a long drive. Inside, I'm going to say between the 40 and the 20, maybe 20 or 10, somewhere in that area. I didn't write it down, but I talked to 3 people who saw it, and they saw what I saw. I always check. I'm like, I want to make sure that I'm not getting this wrong. So it was a shallow cross. It might have been a bang 8, which is the 3-step drop, which the Titans use to AJ Brown. But here's the crazy thing: Hurts had a guy in front of him and in back of him. This is not the play they put the Eagles put on Twitter, the 101 play, the deep ball. This is nothing like it. The thing is, I remember seeing it. Well, I'm like, this play's dead because there's no way he's going to throw this. No one would. I mean, I don't think most quarterbacks would throw it. The trust he clearly has in AJ Brown. I know they're close friends, but that has nothing to do with it. On the field, again, this happened in front of me, so I saw the whole play because I'm scanning, and I'm looking to see where he's going, and he throws it with Brown covered a quarter to halfway on his route. And I look, I'm like, did he catch? Wait a minute. Because I don't get to see the replay. I'm like, he caught it.
Right.
I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what? They should have probably knocked it down, but they couldn't because he threw it in front of, he threw it a little bit in front of the DBs. And Brown played through contact, which he always does. And he went like, I think he kind of went, if you're watching me on YouTube, he hit the guy's hand and he caught it. I was like, oh, I can't believe this just happened. It was just
wow. So he threaded a tight window and the ball got caught. Imagine that.
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
To drive it, he drove the field like he wasn't doing this even probably last year.
Right.
Okay. Then again, these are the physical type routes that Devontae Smith more or less probably won't run. It just particularly against two coverage. I mean, it was surprising. It was a great play. It's pretty cool. And I just made a mental note. I have a little notepad in my right pocket, and I go, AJB, two corners. What does this look like? Ask people around there what it looked like. And yeah, it was a great play. Again, it's just one. It just shows the growth because he's had a good training camp. He got off to the slow start. Everybody knows this.
Right.
And the last 3 weeks, better and better and better. And you saw what he did in the preseason game, which we outlined last week. Certainly some growth there. And you see the talent level that he's got to work with. The Eagles are so deep with pass targets. It was pretty impressive. Minshew, we'll get to him in a minute, but I was pretty impressed with the way Hurts looked. Very, very confident. And the other thing is his protection was so good for the most part. This should happen, and it happened.
Well, that's great. Did you were you able to glean much or see much on just like the idea of staying in the pocket?
Yeah,
going through reads, progression reading, and everything like that.
So basically, the way it's been described to me, the offense is very similar to last year. It's RPO driven. This is the way people there saw it.
Yeah, we saw that in the preseason game. A lot of RPOs.
Yeah, it's RPO driven. It's very much like last season. It's a two progression read, half field read, 1, 2, or it's 1, 2. It's check it down or move and wait to see someone break open or run. That's kind of where he's at. First year was 1 progression. Now it's 1.5 or 2, probably more 2 because he's progressing. There's no doubt. I don't know that he'll ever be a 3 or 4, but you got to feel pretty good because here's the difference. For so many years, under Doug Peterson, the Eagles had wide splits. Peterson liked those one-on-one matchups where now they do both tight and wide.
Right.
And that's the difference between what Peterson over the last couple of years where it was a struggle at times for those guys to get open. Now they're getting open. They've got physical guys like Goddard and A.J. Brown. They got explosive guys. And I got to tell you, Devontae Smith looked incredible. He's so smooth, and he's all the way back from was it a groin injury?
Yeah, groin injury. I guess he's not the forgotten man in the Eagles receiving core. That was about a week and a half worth of wow. Yeah. Where's Devontae Smith? And I guess he showed up.
I get it. He looked so smooth. Beat them repeatedly. Again, yes, he did against backup corners, but some good backups, by the way. Greedy Williams and Emerson. He made some plays, man. He's going to be a good one if you're a Browns fan watching.
Right.
But look, this offense has a chance to be top 3. I really believe that. I'm going to go out on a limb. I think it could be a top 3 NFL offense. They've got that kind of ability.
That sounds like a preseason proclamation, my friend.
But the talent level in this offense, it's a deep pass target group. They're the best offensive line in football. You add that up, decent running game. Yeah, this all up. I mean, it's going to be fascinating to see. All
right. I mean, because you're going to have to contend with Kansas City, which even without Tyreek Hill, I think is still going to put up points. You're going to have to contend with the Chargers, who they have as many.
They're loaded.
They're loaded. I think. Listen, the people can laugh. They may not be a great overall team, but when you can put Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen, and the tight end I like to Irv Smith. That's a pretty good. Now they don't have a great offensive line, so that factors in. But they have some excellent playmakers as well. So top 3 offense would be a heck of I would say that would be a surprise. That would be a really, everything came together the way the Eagles wanted it to. If that happens, that would be great.
That's however you want to grade it, but the upside is there to be a top 3 because they have the best offensive line, no weakness, absolutely no weakness on that 5.
There you go. The Bucs is another one, although they're a little banged up on their line, but their playmakers are pretty good.
Yes, but their offensive line is absolutely decimated.
Right.
They're down a lot of players. They also let a kid Stinney for the season.
Right. Rams, of course, have some really good firepower. That'd be listen. Yeah. If the Eagles it really says a lot about them and what they've done this offseason and their development. So that would be great.
Zach Pascal has really had a good week. He's really you're starting to see why Sirianni likes him. But Minshew did very well. He had a couple plays he'd like to have back during the practice, but he was very solid and even better in the game. His timing is back.
Yep.
No doubt about it. And Reed Sinnett, I would say mixed reviews during the week. And your game, as you saw. And then Carson Strong, we saw him late in the game. Not only does we know he's not making the team, but you have to ask yourself this question. Have the Eagles seen enough from him is he worth trying to develop on the practice squad? He's been so disappointing. I guess he is, because he's had this talent, but you're not seeing
that's
it.
A good question. That's a good question.
I just wonder physically if he's all there. I don't know.
Well, you that's a great point you raise. If when they waive him at the cutdown deadline, do they hope that somebody grabs him and claims the contract because they gave him a decent amount of guaranteed money in it, more than you normally give, right?
Yeah.
So maybe my theory was that they were hiding him, not playing a lot because they want to develop, they want to pass him through waivers and then spend a year developing him on the practice squad. But to your point, maybe they just, after seeing him now for about a month and, OTAs more than that, they think, you know what, it's really not anything other than a strong arm, and that's not enough. That's a great point that you're making.
Yeah, it's sometimes you have to be honest with yourself. If you don't think it's going to work, and why belabor the point? You hear personnel people say that when they know it's just not, he's not what they thought, but maybe it's just a physical thing. He needs a year to get himself together physically. Who knows? But
yeah,
that's
the way
pretty
they treat
much
the position, Adam. I would tend to still think they'd want to get him through waivers and put him on the practice squad and develop him, just because
they own the money anyway.
The position, right?
He's owed $320K this season, no matter if he's on the team or not.
So you might as well try to get a little bit of ROI in there and see what you got. And then I would say, you said Reed Sinet had an okay week of practice up and down, and I felt that same way about the game. He did show off some athleticism there. The kid can run around a little bit. I mean, he's not Jalen Hurts or anything. He's not Russell Wilson, but sort of like the way Gardner Minshew can kind of get himself out of a bad play by scuttling around a little bit. I thought you saw that from Reed Sinet. And the touchdown that he threw to Devin Allen, to me, that was more about Reed than Devin. Devin just runs fast. It wasn't like some great release. It was more that the safety, the only deep safety bid on that, which Reed Sinet sold. I think he looked the underneath route. The safety came up, and then he threw it down the field to Devin Allen, who showed you his second gear.
Yeah, I was the arm strength on Sinet from that ball. You see the clear. We saw some practice when you and I were.
He didn't have to come back to get it. You're right. He hit him nicely in stride. It was perfect.
He's got a very good arm. This is a guy that I clearly see why the Eagles like him.
Mm-hmm.
He just, I hate to say, I don't have a better term. The moment has been too big for him in these games. Because you can get hit. You can't get hit in practice no matter what.
Yeah,
any type of practice. But the speed of the game was a little bit faster, although he's going against backups.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got to do a better job. But he definitely has some upside to be a backup, whether it's a 3 or a 2. But that would be pretty much it. I just was very impressed with the way Hurts looked, and he's definitely getting better. There's absolutely no question about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very anxious to see what he looks like this season, particularly the early on in the season. And then the other part of this is, it's so funny how they came out running in this game. Boston Scott has 11 touches on the first drive.
I know, it's amazing. Well, let's get into that, because I read something into that, maybe more so than the average person. But we know Gainwell has had a kind of a, I can't even call it an up and down camp. I just don't think that it's been a very productive camp for him. Maybe you've observed some of the things in joint practice the past week.
Yeah.
But for Boston Scott to have gotten the first run with the start or the twos there, and it touched the ball as much as he did. I know he needed the work from the time he missed from concussion, but he certainly could have come in this, like Gainwell did in the second quarter, and worked more. But he got most of the reps, and I wonder if there was a message being sent there.
Could be. Just a couple of things on Gainwell. Since he came back from the hip injury, I think it was. Was it hip? He's not looked the same. His timing was really off. The 2 practices were not good, to say the least. And now he was good in the game. Now they call this true yardage. Runs outside the 10. This is what an analytics guy gave us. Outside the 10-yard line, Scott was 6.25. Gainwell was 5.0. Because what happens, obviously, inside the 10, they're short yardage carries. Then your average per carry shrinks.
Sure.
Both look really good.
They did.
Gainwell's first carry was 10. Then the next 2 weren't very good. Then he had a 16-yarder, 4, 4, 4, and 3. And then he got inside the red zone. Scott 13, 2, 5, and 6. Gainwell caught the ball well. It just he's got to carry out his assignments better. That's our understanding of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just got to do a better job for whatever reason. Actually, no, Gainwell caught the ball, not in the game. I thought he had a couple good catches during practice, and then he had some mental errors. So he's just got to get himself together. He was better, good than bad before the hip injury, but it still was not quite what I thought. The thing that I'm not sure of, and I mentioned this on a couple of shows, I don't see the juice that we saw in college at Memphis. I've not seen it. I'll be straight with you. The 2 years that he's been here, yes, he runs low. He's amazingly really good in short yardage. I don't know why. Never heard this before until he became an Eagle. But I'm not seeing the explosive, super. I know coaches will say anything over 4 yards explosive. I understand that, but I'm talking about the real explosive plays. Right. 10 yards or more. I'm not seeing a lot.
Interesting. We'll have to see how the next few weeks unfold for him. I thought what Nick Sirianni had said in the press conference on, I think it was Friday, was really interesting. He was asked about, what he expected from Gainwell in year 2. And he said that everyone thinks of Kenny like a third down guy and you want to get him touches in the pass game. But then he said, if you can't protect and you're one dimensional in third down, you're always in a 5-man out protection. The defense is going to sniff that out. And then he started talking about guys who are scat backs. And then he sort of said, not that I think Kenny is a scat back. And then he said, but guys that are third down backs in the NFL have to be able to protect. So it sounded like he was sending a message that if you're going to be a pass catching back, you're going to have to obviously be a pass protector as well, or else we're be telegraphing our offense. And if you're not doing that well, then you're only a first and second down back. And we've got Miles Sanders and we have Boston Scott who can be effective there too. So something to watch over the next few weeks.
Look here, I asked you this on Sunday. I do wonder because of Gainwell's inconsistency. They weren't last year ever a 3 running back offense, but to me, Scott. Oh, I should mention, he looked very good during practices. Really good. And you saw how great he looked in the game. I understand he had huge holes. Boy, the run defenses for both teams were terrible.
Although yes, they were. I mean, they were bad, but the Eagles' offensive line opened up some huge, huge. 3rd and 13 that Gainwell ran through for 15 yards. He didn't have to make anybody. I mean, there was just the red
the shake
right there.
All right, hang on. He did have a shake move up the middle. He had a beautiful move.
Right, but he was already through the middle by the time he put that.
He shook the guy, so he didn't get the tackle. But yeah, there was a huge hole. Right. Now during practice, okay, I'm glad you brought this up. There were at times the Browns' running game got the Eagles' run defense, no question. Fletcher Cox, I know we're not doing defense right now. I'll just throw this nugget in just to give you an idea. Fletcher Cox on Thursday was a man. He was a man against the Browns OL. And then there were times when he wasn't on the field, or on Friday, there were times when they got him.
Right.
And the Browns have, I mean, it's unbelievable, the group they have. I mean, they're legit 4 deep. Jerome Ford has been a great story for them.
Yeah.
Out of Cincinnati. And he certainly had his moments during practices. But it is fascinating to see what happens now with the Eagles run game because of Gainwell's situation. Because Scott's done nothing not to be a factor. Absolutely. Right. So he's a really good football player. I'm interested to see if this becomes a real committee because they really have not been a committee with Scott, but with Sanders. But hey, he's got a hamstring injury. The indications are they're just being smart with him.
Right.
But boy,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say this is one of the questions we're gonna have when we come out of the preseason. I didn't think it was a question to start training camp, but sure as hell is a question now. I didn't see this coming.
Yeah.
What's this rotation going to look like?
Very fair. Very good question. And, again, if they're going to be a little bit more of a passing team, which we've said they need to be, and you're running a little less in the first 3, then it's hard to really be a 3-man committee. I mean, there's just not enough snaps.
True.
So we'll see. We'll see what they do with that. Wide receivers, you're impressed. You said that the Browns were down 2 corners, and so maybe it looked a little bit better for the Eagles than it would during a normal regular season game.
Devontae Smith again was incredible. He's just so smooth. He beat them left and right. He's totally over his groin injury. AJ Brown was just terrific. So physical. I would have loved to have seen him against Denzel Ward, but Ward, he was not ready yet. He's just taking limited stuff. Quez made some plays downfield. Zach Pascal on Thursday was tremendous. I don't know if it was best practice of training camp. Block for the run game, red zone factor, got open, physical, leadership, vocal. I totally see. This is what the Colt fans don't understand, who rip the Eagles for signing Pascal. I'm not an Eagles fan, so I don't care what teams do, but I'll defend Pascal and Sirianni here. He's not a starting NFL receiver. He's a really good backup.
Yeah, his contract says so.
What's that?
His contract says so. I don't know why you rip a team for signing a guy to a 1-year deal.
Right. Understand what a guy is and isn't. He's a third or fourth receiver. He's not a starter.
Right.
He became a starter last year because Paris Campbell got hurt, T.Y. Hilton was hurt, and they needed someone to play. He had to play.
Sure.
And that's, you're asking, when you ask backups to become starters, eventually they're going to look like who they are. They're backups.
Right.
The Browns are going to learn this with Jacoby Brissett. Guy's a backup quarterback. 4 to 6 games, you can get away with it. If you ask him to start 11 games, it's going to be a problem.
Right.
That's the way it is.
Right. Right. Well, anybody else stand out? I know AJ Brown, the team put out that great catch that he made in, where he just kind of ripped the ball away from the defender.
That was awesome.
Yeah. That was pretty good.
Oh,
Rager, I thought I got feedback that Rager had pretty consistent practices.
He did. He on a beautiful cross, a shallow cross. I'm literally from left to right. It was inside the 10-yard line. It's just a beautiful route. Caught it well.
Right.
Powers way in. Deion Kane is a player.
We have to talk about him.
Guy, another guy from the Colts who we've outlined his situation many times. He's all the way back health-wise. I'll state what we said a month ago. If Rager's traded, he's going to be on the football team.
Yeah,
I think
I you're probably right, but he'd still have to beat out Britton Covey, and I think he can do that. That's the pathway, is that Rager's traded and Covey doesn't make the 53. Because if Covey does, then you're keeping 6 receivers.
6, yeah. They want to keep Covey because he could return.
Yeah, but can he? In college he could, but has he looked all that?
Okay, yeah, he's still
special
things returning. Yeah, I mean, game wise, it's been okay. Yeah, I think the one good return, the week 1 maybe. But yeah, and Devin Allen. I mean, he finally did something, but he's a total project.
Yeah,
he's got his track. It was just it's just one of these blind stabs in the dark. They say, you try it when you get an Olympic star, and it just hasn't worked out to this point. Although he had that straight line speed touchdown. But the story that here's the real story. Dallas Scott was the best player on the field. He was simply, this is not just me who saw it. I'm kind of laughing. I'm like, I wish the fans could see this, because he put on an absolute show. They tried everything. You kind of see finally, we would always see glimpses of this, but he would always have to deal with Ertz.
Right.
Now he just abused their secondary linebackers. It's not like he was going to get matched up on a corner much anyway.
Yep.
But remember the Browns had all their safeties and they're all good. All line, and they're JOK, whoever's on him, he beat him.
Wow.
I mean, he put on an absolute show. One source not with the Eagles said he looked special, and I agree. Now for fantasy, he's early 8th round. I think that's a tremendous value. I would take him as early as the 6th. I when I've taken tight ends early, like as early as the 5th, I've gotten burned. But I just feel his chemistry with Hurts is so good. He's also a check down guy. I've seen him check down in training camp when the receivers weren't open. And we know this coaching staff absolutely loves this guy.
Yep.
He's getting the rock, man.
I think his ADP is too low. I do. I really think he's going to have a year. I think he's going to approach 1,000 yards. I think he's going to have at least 7 or 8 touchdowns. And he's probably going to catch
80, maybe.
The only thing is, I just don't know how many catches that both Jalen Hurts had, that AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. But I mean, if you're saying top 3 offense and sticking by that, that the offenses like Kansas City's or Tampa's, there was room for Mike. Who am I thinking of? From the Bucks.
Oh, Mike Evans. Yeah, yeah.
Mike Evans. There was room for Chris Godwin. There was room for Rob Gronkowski. There's always room for three. And in Kansas City, there was room for Kelsey. There was room for
Table
Hill.
for three, please.
What's that?
Table for three.
Yeah, right. Table for three. So I don't know what I have to look. I think he was ranked behind. There was Kelsey. There was Kittle is sort of hard to figure out because he's always hurt. But
his average his rack yards are incredible. Goddard's whole thing is rack, and boy, he's just a rack monster.
I think he could be the third. I think he could leapfrog Waller now that the Raiders have Devontae Smith there, or Devontae Adams. God, I can't think of names today. Yeah, Adams and Renfro. So,
sure.
I listen. I think 8th round is a steal if you get him there in your fantasy, because I think he's going to be a good big target.
Yeah.
All right.
So just to round off offense, Stoll's starting to catch. See, the thing about Jack Stoll is, let's not forget, he was more of an athletic tight end than a blocker.
Right.
At Nebraska, so he had a significant knee injury his final year, and he didn't get drafted. He would have been drafted had he not gotten hurt.
Right.
But yeah, he could run a little bit, but he's obviously not even half the athlete of Goddard, but he's a solid 2. Can block. Calcaterra, oh boy, did he avoid catastrophe. So
man, I read that. That sounds first day back too, right?
I'm sorry?
It was his first day back. Correct?
Yeah, well, yes. So was it Thursday or Friday? I can't remember. I thought it was Friday. Anyway, yeah, it probably was Friday. Yeah, so he looked fine. He looked good running. Definitely. They're going to limit it anyway. He was only get limited work, but he looked fine. So to my left, I'm behind the Eagles bench, and I see him go down, but I didn't get a great look, and a couple people saw him, and what happened was he slid as he caught it one-handed. He slid like a baseball slide, and he went right into the fence. And it was a thud, and I'm like, I heard it. I'm, oh man, I hope he's okay. And he was down for about a minute, and then he got himself up, a little shaky, and then he dusted stuff off, and he just walked over like nothing happened.
Right.
And then he avoided catastrophe. As he just said, he just came back.
Interesting.
And now this, but he's okay. But that was a little scary. And before
he didn't play, right? They're easing him in. I don't think he played in the
preseason. Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. He's not ready to do that. But I'll tell you what, he's an athlete. He just gives him something. He's an F tight end, or which is off center tight end. He's behind he might have, to the right of the quarterback. He's explosive, but he also needs to build his body up. He's another fascinating one because you only could keep 53. So they keep two or three tight ends. We'll see. And then finish this off. Lane Johnson was just dominant this week, just absolutely dominant during practice. It's cool because what I try to do, Mike Mayock gave me this tip, is you try to look at one position. You might look at one side of the ball, but you want to try one position for like every 15 or 20 minutes. So I would watch the offensive line in one-on-ones, which I love watching. I know it doesn't really translate to games, but you could see the toughness and the technique and the athleticism and all that. He's obviously, if he's not the best offensive lineman in football, he's easily top 5. I know I'm combining them. He's just elite.
Yep.
He's special.
Did you get a good chance to watch those one-on-ones that he had?
Yep.
Did Myles Garrett get a lot of run in those?
I'm sorry?
Did Myles Garrett get a lot of run in the one-on-ones?
Yes, well, here's what happened. So he didn't work Wednesday. Or Thursday, he had personal. He was not there. Friday, he worked limited. Mailata got matched up against Myles Garrett, and he held him. He held his own. There were only a few reps where they went against each other. Did a very good job, and I know it's been written that they two talked, I think, after practice, which is very cool. Cam Jurgens, I'm kind of stunned at how good he's been because he's only played center for 2 years. Now what helps him, this guy's a former tight end.
Yep,
he's
great
long,
athlete.
He's taller, he's longer than normal centers.
Yep.
He's being coached up by one of the best in the National Football League, and Geoff Stoutland. And Kelsey's helping him out. And he's coaching him like when he come off the field, he's getting in his ear. It's pretty cool.
Right.
Very good week. He's certainly ahead of schedule. We don't know what this is going to mean if he has to play this season. We'll see. It's to the point now, Geoff, that I look at it this way. you hope that he doesn't have to play because you'd like this to be his red shirt. You're just to be the backup. But if Kelsey couldn't play for a game or two, I don't think they would move anyone else there. I think it would be him. I think he's to that point now. You have to say, you know what? He's done a good job. He's had a schedule. Live with whatever growing pains he has and just throw him in there.
I totally agree with you. And now I kind of wonder if there's an injury to Sayamalo or Dickerson. Is he first up at guard, even though he hasn't repped there? I mean, he's just taken so naturally to his responsibilities and done a good job. I mean, look, in the preseason game, he played the first quarter. I think he played well the whole first quarter, or at least the first 3 or 4
first half, actually. First half.
Was it the whole first? No, it wasn't. He was out of the second quarter.
Was he?
Yeah, he was out.
Okay.
They brought in Awashika to replace him, I believe. But they didn't play him at center. No, I know. They moved Anderson to
Cameron
center.
Tom. I think Cameron Tom played.
He did, but later. I'm just saying, like, when they decided to pull Juergens out in the first half, they put Awashika at left guard and then move Anderson, I think, from guard to center. Either way, the point I was going to make was every time they ran, they basically ran inside zone or up the middle. They were relying on Juergens, and he was every bit the part that they asked him to be. So he's taken to it well. At this point, Adam, with the depth that they have, because I thought Dillard had good reps in that game also.
He did.
Not just in running, but in the few times they passed the
ball.
Good
during the week, too. By the way, good, really good during the week. You could clearly see how he's built his body up, and he's not on his rear end, which he was way too much last summer.
Yep.
Just getting more confident. This is what you're for. Yeah,
this is good depth. I mean, when you have Dillard and Juergens as your top 2 guys, a first-round pick and a second-round pick off the bench, that's everybody already knows this, but we're just reiterating how deep this team is. And Jack Driscoll, who's played a lot of games, is 3rd, maybe 4th, however it works, but they've got some good players there.
One more. That's it. Suopeta is definitely taking a jump in year 3.
Yep. We've talked about that.
Yeah, he's definitely taken a jump. Yeah. Wow. You're right. Anderson and Driscoll.
Anderson.
Yep. We haven't heard much about Driscoll, but he's a pretty good athlete. He could play guard, but he's more of a right tackle.
Right.
They do. They have good depth. We didn't even mention Raven Clark was just getting back from injury.
Yeah.
So it's that's it for offense. But
still probably wouldn't trade Dillard though, Adam, unless I can't imagine how he would do it unless somebody's giving him up like a 2.
I wouldn't. It's funny you say that. I was talking to someone from another team. We were exchanging notes about what I'd seen on my tour, and he was giving me what he knew about players that I saw. And he said the same thing. He goes, Howie would be crazy to trade Dillard if the team is going to be as good as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Are you really going to take? Do you believe in Raven Clark if Mailata got hurt?
No, not really.
Not for a full season. Not if he had right.
Not for a full season.
2 or 3 games, maybe. That's a stretch, man. That's a stretch. So, really a good week for the Eagles offense, and obviously the backups did great in the game.
Mm-hmm.
For the time that they played. They have to, the coaches have to feel really, really good. Jason Huntley, it's funny though, one thing. Huntley, I know they want to make him an inside runner. He's not. He's just not. That's to me why he won't make the team, because he's a scat back. He's really fast.
Yep.
I just don't think he's good enough for Turner. I don't see him on this team. I'd be very surprised.
I agree with you. I still think he tries to bounce things too much a little bit there and just doesn't hit that hole with authority. He kind of, it's like he's looking for something instead of just going and taking the lane. All right, so we'll go over to defense. First, I want to stop and remind everybody about our friends at PHLSportsNation.com, enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto, so make sure you check them out at PHLSportsNation.com. And we'll pause real quick for a word from our other great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. And if you stop into Sky Motor Cars out there in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Jess sent you. You will get the very best deal.
And the Kobe Dean, the latest Eagle, to get their car from Sky Motor Cars in Westchester.
Nice. Cool. Good job by Nicobe. Good decision-making from the young linebacker right there. It wasn't a great defensive display, at least in the preseason game, Adam.
Run game.
Especially against the run. Now, it wasn't as bad as last year's preseason games, where they were just completely getting steamrolled every single play by the Steelers and then the Patriots. But it still could have been better, as far as getting off blocks and getting the guy down on the initial hit. It just wasn't clean, and even the back end wasn't clean as well.
Boy, they got crushed on wide zone, which is the Browns' bread and butter. I'll tell you though, in practice, see, this is where because the Eagles only use backups in this game, whereas in practice the starters they got the reps.
Yep.
So no, Fletcher Cox, as I said on Thursday, was really good. I did not get any feedback one way or the other. I just got feedback that at times he looked like the man. And Thursday, boy, he's the kind of guy. He's always been like this. When he decides he wants to bring his A game, good luck trying to stop the guy. He's so country strong. Milt Williams got a nice run in he had to start in this past game, but during practice he's got versatility. Played end, he played tackle, moved around. Jordan Davis during practice showed that he's a big wall where you have to run outside of him because it's hard to run inside. But during the game, man, they got walled. They got pushed. They got doubled. I don't know what we'll find out from our sources what the tape looked like, but it didn't look good.
Right.
You could see from the TV copy if you slow it down, as I did, it looked really bad. Now I'll say this though, Marlon Tuipulotu had a very good 2 days. He's had a good training camp. He most likely will make the team.
Yeah, I heard that as well, and that's why I was a little surprised to see the defense not really show up as well. And maybe Adam, there's something to be said about these joint practices, and then when you go play the game, maybe you just don't have the freshest of legs after 2 intense days like that.
Yes, because I remember
both teams I thought were bad, by the way. Both teams on defense, I thought. I mean, we saw the Eagles just run right up and down on them for two or three series.
Both first drives for the Browns and Eagles were non-competitive almost defensively. That both teams went right down. And as I said earlier, Boston Scott had 11 touches on the first drive, 10 carries, 1 catch. But Tuipulotu, here's the thing, man. He's got a burst. That's what Cosell taught us, which he saw from his coaching tape from USC. Marvin Wilson, just can only talk about practices with him.
Right.
He's showing up. I know he's not going to make it, but he's showing up. He is absolutely worth developing on the practice squad, man. The Eagles are so deep at D-tackle, because remember, chances are this will be Cox's last year. If it is, you got to figure out what your rotation is going to be, because Jordan Davis will be a starter next year. Hargrave's on the final year of his deal. The Eagles really like him, but he's got to stay healthy and he's got to produce like he did last year, even be better.
Right.
So there's going to be an opportunity for Wilson to be maybe a 4th D tackle next year if he continues to progress.
Well, I thought it was interesting hearing the same things about Marvin Wilson, that it wasn't Kobe Smith though that wound up coming in and getting second team reps with like Tuipulotu and whoever. I thought Smith might have been the first guy that we, among the backups to get out there on the field.
Yeah, I don't read into that kind of, backup rotation. I'm just going by what it's looked like in training camp.
Sure.
Tuipulotu has been a great story. And then Josh Sweat certainly showed up during practices. He's so unique because you don't find DNs are this long, this tall, long arms, and also he's getting more and more comfortable playing standing up. I know his bread and butter is wide nine, and wide nine he's dominant whenever he's been able to play it here in Philly. Certainly under Jim Schwartz, you could see it. And then when Gannon ran the wide nine in the second half last year, Cosell pointed this out to us, and boy, he really took off again. Also, linebacker Kyzir White. If you wanted to say from multiple sources that Kyzir White was the best player on defense during the 2 practices, I wouldn't argue with it from what I'm told and what I saw with my eyes. He had a great pick off play action, because Eagles got picked on play action on Thursday. Friday, they picked it up, and he had a beautiful pick. He has been everything they could have hoped. This might be the first linebacker in a while that they signed a 1-year deal that actually not only makes it, but it won't be cut. That looks like he'll be one of their better linebackers, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, look, Edwards and Kyzir White did not play. They're starting linebackers right now. I mean, it's hard unless things drastically change in the window is about 2 weeks here. It looks like Nakobe Dean is going to have to, continue to work his way. I'm sure they'll get him on the field at times, but if you're playing a game right now against Detroit, season opener, if it's tomorrow, Edwards and Kyzir White are your starting linebackers.
Yeah, Kyzir. Yeah, I mean, certainly he does not. Kyzir White, if I'm the Eagles, I do not play him. He didn't play in this game. He's great in practice. I let him take good reps against the Dolphins this week. Do not play him the game. Get all these starters to the game, to the first game against Detroit. Remember, the 4th week they have off. They practice.
Mm-hmm.
He's been, wow, instinctive, tough. I know he's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's tough, smart, leadership. He's vocal. I like watching him. This is the first time I was able to really watch him for a while, and he knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
I get it that Brandon Staley wanted bigger linebackers. That's what I was told by a Charger source. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, you had this note last year. Correct me if I'm wrong. When Gannon and their group came in, I think you said that you had heard that he didn't put any size requirements like kind of Schwartz may have wanted.
Correct. He was, yes, he was more open to give me players and I'll make it work. Now that you can sort of dissect that philosophy and say, well, they gave you some players, and maybe not great ones, but there were some players that did not work for you last year, including your guy, Eric Wilson. So,
my guy.
Not your guy. I'm talking about, you could say that to Jonathan Gannon.
Oh, yeah.
We gave you your guy who you coached, you know, or
Yep.
has familiarity with your scheme, and you didn't
Yeah.
exactly turn it into anything special there. And then, of
Yep.
course, you can have that conversation about Anthony Harris right now. But,
Yeah.
but yes, that the point was he did not. Chip Kelly was like that as well. And you're mentioning Brandon Staley. There are some coaches that absolutely have size, frame, arm length, hand length,
size.
and yeah, I know, right? Growth potential, all that. And I was told he did not. Which, by the way, the scouts like, because they like to be able to present sort of a variety of players and say this guy can do well in this and this guy. But if you're already taking guys off the list just because of he's not 6'3", then it makes their job tougher.
There's a reason why Aaron, I don't remember what the draft order looked like, but Aaron Donald was not a guy that Chip wanted because of the arm length. I do remember that.
Sure. And plus he's short, right? He's 5'11" on a good day.
No, he's 6 even on the teams did measure him at 6.
Right. Which is still short for a D tackle.
It is.
Yeah.
Sure. It definitely is. There's no doubt. And but you got to go by what the tape shows you.
Right.
Deep back wise, Darius Slay, I know people.
Wait, real quick. One thing on linebackers, because I know we've talked about him, and you seem very, very assured that Kyron Johnson's going to make the 53.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, oh, yeah, but he hasn't done anything. I mean,
actually,
Johnson.
Okay. Not just specials. He as a backup Sam, they don't have anyone like him. He's so fast.
I mean, clearly Patrick Johnson's getting now 2 straight practices and games that Patrick Johnson's the second team.
I understand.
Sam.
No, I understand. Okay. But as a guy that you want to develop, who's super explosive, you can't teach speed. He's really fast, and he'll be a core special teams player.
Yeah.
Now we'll see. Look, the question is again.
I'm gonna keep
this is the deepest roster they've had since 18. It's hard. You can't keep everybody. We keep saying how good this guy looks or this guy. You can't keep all these guys.
Right.
So someone's going to have to go. They're going to have to. In fact, they might have some value in trades. Who knows? Some of these guys. But they're in a tough way here. So yeah, Reddick, by the way, showed up in these practices. I'm glad you said stop at linebacker, because Reddick definitely shows up. They were throwing fastballs. The Browns have a really good line. Not quite where the Eagles are, but they've got a very good line.
Right.
And he got in there. And they were doing a lot of multiple stuff. I like what Gannon's doing. And the word coming out of there is both teams ran their stuff. Whereas in the game, you don't run. You come with some plays you want to run, but you're not running your true scheme. You're just running some plays.
Right. Again, Gannon in the game ran a lot of 3 down linemen, 1 overhang look. That was kind of the predominant look there. And he played a lot of 2-man, which I think is more of a test. I think he was just basically trying to see how his corners would cover, but he's not going to leave them exposed. So he played a lot of 2 deep safeties and man underneath.
Guess what?
In the game.
If they don't make a trade for safety, they'll be playing a bleep load of 2 deep.
They really will. And not only will it be 2 deep, it'll be like 2 deep. Like these guys are
so before we get out of here, I got to tell you a conversation I had with a former head coach that I talked to. So I said, hey, Philly really struggles at safety. What can you do? He goes, I think it's a real problem. He goes, don't overrate it. You'd love to be good at safety, but it's a position where you could hide the safeties. You don't like to compromise, but if you have to, you play 2 deep, you got them real deep, and you pray.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, but there's that you can do that. Of course, the person who said that's correct, but there's a byproduct to that when you
Can't
play
do
your
everything.
guys that deep of how much space you're leaving down the seams
Yeah.
and across the
You
middle
can't
there.
do everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't want to compromise, but right now it's a problem. Slay, I know people are. I know some of the reporters there said Slay got beat at 1-on-ones. It definitely, Amari Cooper got him at 1-on-ones. It's a fact. I saw it, and I know people told me when they watched the tape it was true, but he was better during the team stuff. And understand the Browns don't have a very good pass target group. It's just not. It's
Right.
not remotely close as good as the Eagles. So Amari Cooper, when he brings his A game, he's really good. Doesn't always do that. He is bigger in person, man. I know he's only 6'1",
He's a big dude.
thick.
Yeah.
Talk about route running, his head shake. He's something else, man. He's a pretty special player. Josh Jobe, definitely, he's got some game in him.
But is there a pathway for him to the 53?
Well, you tell me this. Josiah Scott, I know, had an injury. We'll have an update for you on our next show. He was the one injury that came out of the game. We know McPherson's the third outside corner. Who's the fourth?
It's been Josh Jobe.
That's what I mean.
But the fourth outside corner is like because you have your slot corner. So your top three corners are Slay, Bradbury, Maddox. That's three right there. McPherson is four. So are you keeping five corners? Because I was starting to think that Josiah Scott was making it, if he's healthy, as a corner / safety, because you need that last to be a hybrid spot. So unless you're just completely calling him a safety and you're not keeping, so then you go to safety and you say, well, who are your safeties? Right now it looks like Epps, Harris, and by the way, what a quote from Sirianni the other day when he asked about his safety group, he said it's led by Marcus Epps, and then we have a bunch of good pieces. He said led by Marcus Epps, and we have a bunch of good pieces.
Saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
That's not, if you're Anthony Harris, it's like, wow,
that surprised me. I don't know what to read into that. Harris certainly has been very average at best, but overall here, Amadi practiced. I didn't watch him the game.
Yeah,
but he definitely practiced. So if people want to know, he was there.
They got to figure this out.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Patrick Johnson certainly has had a very good training camp.
So to answer your question, I guess there's a pathway to Jobe as the fifth corner if Josiah Scott is a safety. If they just decide we're moving him to safety and he's going to play safety,
I think he'll make it. I think he'll. I one way or the other. But again, if I'm saying that, they got to go short somewhere else. This is the problem with this roster. It's good comparatively to the last 3 years.
Yep.
Can't keep everybody, folks. Nope. So if you're trying to do your 53, this is going to be a tough year, by the way.
Yeah.
Tough year to do your 53.
I agree. Yeah. No, you probably go thin. You can go with just 3 running backs. You can go with just 2 tight ends, stash some guys on the practice squad. And at linebacker, I don't think Sean Bradley, if you're trying to go deeper in other areas, Sean Bradley may not make the team and he's a good special teamer, but the guys you're keeping, like the Kyron Johnsons, if they're not going to play on defense, it's going to be special teams. So it'll be very fascinating. We got another week coming up to continue to evaluate. Next time we talk to everybody, I thought we'd have to do a special show, but since the first practice with the Dolphins is Wednesday and our pod drops Thursday, that'll pretty much be, maybe we'll do something Thursday after practice just to kind of summarize the 2 days. We might do a little special ITB there, but I think we're both leaving South Florida on Thursday, so we'll have to fit it in pretty quickly at the end of practice.
Yeah, we'll have some great stuff for you guys.
Definitely. It'll be fantastic. Looking forward.
It'll be the Dolphins have such a good roster from top to bottom, except for offensive line. They're very shaky.
Yeah.
But they're super deep at corner, really deep in the secondary, good front, super deep, crazy on pass target group. But we'll get into that. I cannot wait to see these matchups. So we'll talk to you this coming week.
All right, 4:00 Tuesday, by the way, is the limit to the 80-man. So they'll have to be cut loose of 5 or at least 5 players off the roster to get down to 80.
Yes.
All right. We'll keep you updated on that. Make sure you're checking out InsideTheBirds.com for there. That's going to do it for this edition of ITB, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. Big thanks as always to our producer, Tyler Strasser. He does a great job. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the birds.